Ready?
We are ready. Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for being here. My name is Elizabeth, the Education Coordinator for Marlene's Market and Deli. Tonight's special guest that we have with us, it's always a treat to work with her and the whole team at Beometry. We have Brianna Meridth. She is a fitness and health coach at Beometry, locally located in Tacoma, Washington. Thank you so much, Brianna, for joining us.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for the introduction. Feel free to turn your cameras on, by the way. I would love to see you. And as we go, if you do have any questions, feel free to put those in the chat box. As I'm sharing my screen, just FYI, I can't currently see the chat box, but at the end, I'll definitely be sure to check it and answer as many questions as possible. So as Elizabeth said, my name is Briana. I am with Beometry Fitness and Coaching. A lot of people ask why we're called Beometry. And you can almost think of it like geometry. So like years ago when I first started my fitness journey, I really only focused on the exercise portion of it. And then over time, I found that the clients that got the best results really were addressing many different aspects in their life to create the transformation that they need. So therefore, when you put it all together, that is what created Beometry. And then, so what I want to go over today is I would like to share with you all my system that has helped many clients drop body fat percentage without them having to feel like they torture themselves in the gym. I would also like to share a few secrets to how to align your body to get rid of tightness and get out of pain. And then also I will share the practice that I take my clients through that has them stepping out of feeling bad around taking care of themselves. And all of these pictures that I'm sharing with you, these are either pictures of myself or actual clients, just FYI. So this is one of my clients, Kara's, before and after. I think she ended up losing, it's about 180 pounds total throughout her journey. Yes. And then before we get started, I would like to share a little bit about myself and, you know, what really has led me here talking to you ladies. And I also would love to get to know each of you as well, too. So I'll share a little bit about myself, and then I would love for each of you to share, you know, like what it is that brought you here today. So either share what it is that you would like to learn, or just kind of share where you're currently at with your health and fitness journey. And so like my personal health and fitness journey stemmed back to 2013. I had a baby. He was a couple of years old. During that pregnancy, I had gained about 70 pounds, and it wasn't a very healthy pregnancy. It was on bed rest, most of it. Acquired high blood pressure during the pregnancy. High blood pressure stuck. At that time, I was only 20 years old. So I knew that I needed to make some changes. And so that really led me to start working on my health and fitness. And during that time, in about a year span, I lost the 70 pounds. And I was able to wean myself off of the high blood pressure medication. And so that really stemmed my interest in also how you can utilize foods and exercise to reverse and prevent diseases in the body. So in 2018, I got my certification to be a food healing facilitator so that I could help people with other elements that they're struggling with. And then I officially became a trainer in 2016. And then in 2018, I also got my level 1 Qigong certification. If you don't know what Qigong is, it's almost reminds me of like a form of meditation with very light movement. So it's very great for just like helping ground yourself and stress relief as well too. So let's go ahead and maybe we'll start with you, Elizabeth, if you don't mind sharing what it is that where you're currently at in your health and fitness journey, or what it is that, if there's anything you would like to learn today.
I am currently training for a 5K mud race.
Okay.
Yeah, that's going to be taking place in late September. I had a couple of weeks there that I had gotten sick and unfortunately had to stay home and take care, which is good to do, but now needing to step back into my plan and working on my core and my upper body strength because that's a lot of it. And so I actually just purchased one of those aerial yoga doodads
Yeah.
to strap to the ceiling and do some really good stretching and do some of those yoga moves.
Yes, that's awesome. And then Karen, if you'd like to unmute yourself, I'd love to hear your share. Or feel free to, oh, there you go.
Oh, okay. Hi. My name's Karen, and I had lost quite a bit of weight. Then there was a tragedy in my life, and I gained the weight. It's been a challenge to lose it, and I'm to the point now that I can stick with an exercise program and healthy eating, but I need assistance in becoming consistent because I want to, whatever I lose, I want to keep it off. And also I want to firm up my body. Basically the thigh and buttock area is just really I don't have a lot of muscle tone there. So I'd like to do that. And I started taking Tai Chi, but I've had some problems come up or challenges with my schedule. So I've been trying to find some basic YouTube videos to help me there. So that's basically where I am, wanting to speed up the consistency in losing weight and consistently eat healthy, that kind of thing.
Yes, that's awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. So, and we will touch on some of those things, and hopefully you'll find all of this helpful in being able to create a routine that's consistent for yourself, because I totally get that. It's like life happens, and it can get really easy to get sucked out of the energy of staying consistent with your health and fitness. So that's perfect. We'll look at all of that. And that leads me into my next question, which you already answered, Karen. I was going to ask, how many of us in here have either exercised and we didn't see the results that we wanted, or we've exercised, lost some weight, and then we gained it back, right? Even me, I'm guilty of that, right? So we'll take a look at also exactly, why that is, that it happens. And two, before we get into that, I also want to go over the fact that it's like whenever we're creating a regimen for ourselves, it's very important that we focus on multiple pieces. It's like you've got this checklist, and if one piece isn't being addressed, you might not actually see the results that you want, okay? Because you've got exercise, you've got stress management, you've got nutrition, and then also sleep is also going to play a really big role. And a lot of times you'll find all of these things, they connect to each other, right? So like technically, exercise is another form of stress on the body. And so if you're someone that, let's say you have things going on in life, maybe stressful career or just stress with at home life, then if you introduce exercise and let's say you try to go to some type of like boot camp class and you just beat yourself down to the ground in that class, your body's probably not actually going to respond really well to that. So it's like doing exercises based off of what your body is needing is really important, because as we go throughout our lives, what we need changes. So what's most important is that we're able to allow ourselves to adapt to what we're needing at that time. And I'm going to share a little bit of a story about Jessica here. So Jessica is, she's actually my best friend. And she was like working out on her own, but she came to me and she's like, Bri, like no matter what I do, I can't lose weight. And she was like, I actually just left in an appointment for a consultation for liposuction. And then she asked me, "Will you loan me the money?" And I was like, Jessica, you know that, you know, this is what I do. Like I help people transform and get where they want to be. Like I won't be able to loan you the money, but I'm happy to help you and support you in another way. And so for her, she was like, oh, well, I've been working out on my own. I just don't see any results. And she was like, I don't really want to add in more time. Like, you know, she's a mom of two, a manager of a store. So this transformation that you see was actually over a 6-month span. She actually only worked out with me 1 day a week for 1 hour at a time. And so the different things that we addressed were, we regressed all of her movements down to even how she was breathing and making sure that she was actually getting proper muscle activation. So when she was doing the exercises on her own, even though she was going through the motions of it, she wasn't actually working the muscles. So like, for example, if you're familiar with like a donkey kick exercise, it's like, yes, you know, she'd be on all fours and then lifting her foot up towards the ceiling, but she didn't feel her glutes at all, right? Because she just didn't know how to properly isolate. So really what we worked on was teaching her to properly activate the muscles, taught her how to breathe correctly, because surprisingly, most people don't really know how to breathe properly when they're working out, or they'll have a tendency to hold their breath, which isn't going to suit you. So we really just worked on like relieving stress in the body. We also did some nutrition work as well too. So it's like Jessica's biggest thing was because she was so busy, she would have a ton of like sweet and salty cravings. So we'll also take a look at like why that happens. By chance, Karen or Elizabeth, do either of you get any sweet or salty cravings?
I do.
Yes. Yep. So, and there's multiple reasons why that can happen. I'd say like typically the most common things that I see is that either someone isn't eating frequently enough, right? So they're not keeping their metabolism moving. So then when they do eat, they're just eating maybe one large meal, and it's like even the gut itself isn't prepared for just one large meal. And it's like if you're eating 2,000 calories in one time, your body either has to utilize that for energy, or it's going to typically end up just storing it as fat. So that's number one. Number two, not eating enough nutrient dense foods. So we have macronutrients, we have micronutrients. And so making sure that you're getting enough of each food group, and also making sure you're able to get enough of the vitamins and minerals that you need is a big cause. If you have a lack somewhere, then typically the body is like trying to find a way to compensate and get energy, get fuel. And typically like especially the carby things, your body's like, oh, that's my, quickest source of fuel. But then it'll just kind of result in, especially these like highs and lows in blood sugar. Stress is also a huge thing. So when you're stressed, it produces cortisol, and cortisol is a form of a hormone that the body produces. If you have high cortisol levels, then you're going to be more likely to crave sweet and salty foods. So again, that's where, focusing on one thing will tie into the other. It's like good stress management, then that will help with the nutrition side of things. Also, if you are not hydrated enough, I actually see that commonly. It's like everyone always is like, drink water, but it really is so important. And then the other cause could be if someone potentially has gut microbiome issues. So if you have a bacteria imbalance or an overgrowth of bad bacteria, the bad bacteria actually thrives and grows off of increased sugar intake. So sometimes if, let's say, someone is like, you feel like you have all of those pieces of the checklist marked and you're still like, I'm still not seeing results. Sometimes it's good to, you can dive a little bit deeper with a professional in that area. And then also too, as you're going in your journey, how you track your progress is really important. So I don't know if maybe either of you have ever, maybe say you exercised for 6 weeks and you felt like you were going all in, and then it's like you step on the scale and you don't necessarily see the number change, and then you're just like, oh, this is demotivating, I'm doing all this work, and then it can result in feeling like you want to quit, right? And so the biggest thing is even outside of the scale is having things to track your progress on both. You can track it on a physical level, but also on an emotional and a mental level can be quite motivating as well too. So, and you just have to figure out, what that looks like for you. Like I've had some people where they're like, oh, I'm eating well and I'm exercising consistently and I'm no longer getting that midday slump where it's like 2-3 p.m. and I just want to take a nap and be done for the day. Or it might be like you feel more focused throughout the day, or that you're not getting bloated, or you're not having those sweet and salty cravings. And then also too, you can utilize like body composition machines that will actually tell you how much muscle mass you have versus body fat, because I've often have seen where it's like maybe 4 weeks has gone by and the scale hasn't changed at all, but they gained a pound or two of muscle and lost 1 or 2% of body fat. So that is really important. And this right here on the right is actually one of my clients, Brandy. She's a mom of 3 actually. And when she first started training with me, she trained with me for about 2 weeks. And then she told me, she said, I have something to tell you. I'm not telling anybody. She's like, I just found out that I am 6 weeks pregnant. And she said, but you know what? I committed to this journey. I'm going to stay with it. And so she ended up working out her entire pregnancy. And obviously her doctor said that it was fine, and we modified based off of that. But she only worked out twice a week for 1 hour at a time. And so when she was 9 months pregnant, she was actually down 5 pounds in a very healthy way. Her knee pain had got away, and that was after her last pregnancy. And she also had the quickest recovery time because she was focusing on her health and fitness. So, and that's another big thing to look at too. And I think, Karen, based off of what you shared, is, figuring out what is a very balanced and sustainable approach, because at the end of the day, like how many times a week you work out should work out is going to be different from person to person. So it's like, if you can stay consistent with 1 day a week, 2 days a week, perfect. It really comes down to whatever you can stay consistent. Where people typically run into issues is like, let's say like they have a New Year's resolution. I've actually heard people tell me this New Year's resolution. They're like, yes, I'm going to go to the gym, morning and night, like every day. And then like when I check in with them on like February 1st, I'm like, how's that going? And they're like, not good. It was like, I couldn't do that. This happened, or like, I'm just burned out. So That's also a key piece. And then let's see. If also I have a question for each of you before I share a little bit more. So talking about you know, getting out of pain or getting rid of tightness, something that I've ran into is that if somebody's body, like if they just work out and they almost feel like they're being tortured when they work out, it'll make it so that they just simply won't want to move, right? So right now for each of you, is there a like a body part, an area of your body that is in pain or just feels tight chronically?
I would say that I tend to get nerve pain, and it'll kind of vary where, but for tightness, I do tend to get tight hip flexors, and I know that that's due to the element of my job and sitting. And so I do my best every 30 minutes to like get up and stretch. But yeah, would definitely want less tightness.
Yes, definitely. Awesome. How about you, Karen? Are you there, Karen? Or if you'd like, you're more than welcome. Oh, there you go.
Okay. Well, basically, I have arthritis in both knees, and I don't have pain anymore. I do have some stiffness, but I notice the more I do strengthening exercises and do get in the water, I have less stiffness now.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you know, a part of the reason why we get tight is over time, from things like Elizabeth said, from, you know, sitting often, it can actually cause us to lose movement options. Okay. Now, when we lose movement options, it means that when we do go to do an exercise, let's say a squat, for example, if you don't actually have the movement options available in your hips, then typically your body is going to compensate somewhere else. So a lot of times where people will feel that will typically be maybe in their back or maybe in their knees. Okay. And then if you've got that going on, then it's going to make it really difficult to stay consistent with anything, because you're going to be like, well, I can't do this, I can't do that. So when you lose movement options, people have a couple of different things that they typically will resort to. It's like either one, you move in that way and you hurt, or two, you just don't move, right? So, you know, a big thing to look at is it's like, what in your body do you need to bring more awareness to? You know, what needs to be restored in the body and brought back into proper alignment. And this was one thing that I ran into with Terica here that is on the screen. So prior to us working together, she worked with a trainer for about 2 years. Okay. It was honestly the craziest. When she told me, like, I had to laugh because it was the craziest story. So the trainer was like very big into discipline, which that's fine, but it was like she had to only wear all black from head to toe, like even socks, or else the trainer wouldn't train her. And then she would like wrap her waist before every workout, to the point where like she couldn't breathe. And then because Terica was missing some movement options, if she couldn't do an exercise, so for example, Terica was unable to do any type of split squats because she didn't have the movement options available in her hips. So her trainer, instead of kind of figuring out what it needed to be addressed in order to be able to do the split squats, would just omit those exercises. And what ended up happening was she had so little muscle mass in her legs that one day she stepped out of her car, she planted her foot on the floor and her ankle, she fractured her ankle. And so that is why it's important to make sure that you do have enough muscle mass to support your skeletal structure. Okay. So like with Terica also, she was on very restrictive dieting, like restrictive dieting for the last 10 years. And what it ended up causing was her to like go into early menopause at the age of 44. And then, you know, like basically doctors were like, that's that. I will say in the last 3 months, actually, she came out of menopause from getting rid of restrictive dieting, and also just from releasing stress in the body and reducing inflammation in the body and restoring those movement options. So, you know, this is really a case where it's like bringing awareness to what in the body needs to be addressed from like a pain and a movement perspective. So she ended up losing 10 pounds and 11 inches all around her body and 4% body fat in just 2 months. And this was with working out 2 to 3 times a week for an hour at a time. And so like the biggest thing is when it comes to finding a sustainable approach, it's like you really don't have to you know, beat yourself up in the gym and go every single day. If you are really tailoring it to your exercise, you know, your sleep, stress management, and nutrition, you can strategically basically program for yourself and still get the results that you want. So yeah, Terica is she's a very, very great example. And she can now, she's doing all these exercises that she was never able to do before. Like she can actually do split squats without her ankle. She had ankle pain, knee pain, back pain, and shoulder pain. And so she can work out pain-free, basically. Yes. So, and then, you know, the biggest piece that I want to touch on next, especially, you know, when it comes to staying consistent around your health and fitness, is what you believe around taking care of yourself is so important. So, you know, I have 2 children myself, and you know, there was a long time where I had my kids. I also had 2 jobs for a time. And so I was busy. And I remember there was one night where I was so tired and I had to make my family dinner. And I was like the last one to sit down, and my food was cold by the time that I took care of everyone else. And it gave me a flashback of how I used to view like my mom and how she took care of herself. And I realized at that moment that stemmed a belief in me that I thought in order to take care of my family and everybody else, that meant that I had to be the one to sacrifice, right? And I also realized that it gave me the belief that I needed to be independent and I needed to do everything on my own. So I had a really hard time asking for support because I thought that asking for help meant that I was weak. And, you know, after really thinking that over, I had this realization that no, like asking for help, it takes strength. It allows, you know, you have to be vulnerable to ask for help. And that was the thing that I was missing. And so like just by changing that belief is really what led me to actually be able to change my action steps and like get the results that I wanted in balancing my own health and fitness and my family and my career. So because you have these, you know, underlying beliefs and whatever it is that you believe, and they can be beliefs that you don't even realize that you have. They can be conscious or they can be subconscious beliefs, and those are going to drive your thoughts and they're going to drive your emotions, and then typically your actions are a derivative of the emotions that you have, and then that's going to bring you what your current result is. And so often it's like, you know, that you want this result for yourself, but it's not as easy as just saying, just do it. right? I don't, it's like, oh yeah, I know I shouldn't have the chocolate, but I'm going to eat the chocolate anyways. Okay. So that's why you have to stem it all the way back down to, what your beliefs are. If you want to change some of your patterns to actually, create something different, for yourself. And so, I would definitely, invite, I hope that share was helpful for both of you, but I would invite you to both, really dig deep into that, because if somebody's fitness and health journey is just based off of motivation, it's not going to be sustainable, because motivation is it's a fleeting emotion. It's going to come and go. And so a lot of times you have to have backup plans for, what about the days when I just feel like I don't care, because we're human, and like the journey is never going to be perfect. And so I think, aside from even, figuring out what exercises to do, it's like the clients that have got, the best results with me have been the clients who have really dug deep into understanding getting very clear around what it is that they truly want, and also having an understanding of why, they've been doing, the patterns over and over that haven't been serving them, and really, teaching them like how to let those things go. So, and let's see, based off of that, do either of you have any questions yet?
I think that's so valid about the beliefs and the thoughts creating the actions and the result, and how motivation is fleeting. You'll be like, yeah, I'm totally down to do this, woo, and then the next week something happens and you're like, oh well, darn.
Yes. Yeah, totally. Yeah, and even I've experienced these things like multiple times through my journey. I remember even in my last pregnancy, like I would get so frustrated because I would go to do an exercise and I'm like, oh, my body just isn't moving the same. But on the other end, I'm like, oh my God, I'm creating a whole life right now. Like I need to have some compassion and some grace with myself, right? And it's like the thing that truly is going to move someone forward the most is giving it your best that day. That's it. It doesn't matter what it looks like. It's just as long as you choose to do one thing. Like Brandy, who I shared about earlier, it's like during her pregnancy, she had one day where I was so surprised that she showed up, because she said, honestly, I've been throwing up the whole day. She's pregnant. I said, you know what? It doesn't make sense for us to work out today. And so we spent the hour, working on nutrition, or maybe, if someone's really stressed, it might be like, oh, well, let's just do, Qigong, do some stress relief today. Right. And that's really how you move forward. Yeah. Karen, do you have any questions at all?
Feel free to unmute, Karen, or enter in the chat box.
Sorry.
Oh, oops. I think she was there. Maybe not.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Okay. I like the idea of digging deep, and then trying to be more focused on coming up with why do you keep doing this same thing? Well, for me, it's self-sabotage. And based on what you said, Brianna, I got to figure out why I do that, because I'll have an exercise program, I'll have my eating plan, and I will follow it to the T. But then at night around a certain time, it's like I go in the kitchen and I'm looking for kind of like anything. And sometimes I don't even want it. And then I'll eat some candy or eat some chocolate or eat something salty. And then I'll say, then I'll be really frustrated with myself. And I'll do that. And I'm just trying to figure out, well, what's going on that makes you do that? So I'm self-sabotaging myself. But from what you said, it might have something to do with deficiency, not eating enough of this or that.
Yeah, it could be multiple, sometimes it can be like multiple things kind of compounding on top of each other too. And I totally get that about the you said about feeling guilty. And like a big thing that I have found is that if that is happening, we're creating guilt or shame for ourselves, then that's also a way to create more stress for ourselves as well too. And Karen, what I would love to offer you, I really appreciate you coming today on a very sunny day, by the way. But what I would love to offer to you is if you'd like to, just get on a complimentary call with me, I'd be happy to take a deep look at like what it is that you need exactly to break that pattern, and to lose the weight and keep it off for good. Is that something you'd be interested in?
Oh, yes, I would be interested in that. And Brianna, another thing I do is I'll feel guilty, but then there's another, oh, and then at the end, I'll hear this little voice that says, you really can't do this. This is too hard. You really can't do it. But I've been good all day. So these thoughts are holding me back, I think, too.
Yeah, definitely. And if I had to guess, it's probably stemming from some belief, and it might be some belief you're not aware of yet. Like I've ran into people where they actually will have a fear around what might happen if they actually are successful. And that'll be the thing that will hold them back. Or it could be that maybe like me, for example, I'm a perfectionist, right? And so the belief that I need to be perfect actually really will hold me back as well too. So what I'll do, Karen, is I will make sure that I give you my contact information before we head out. I'll put it in the chat box to make sure that you have that.
Okay.
Awesome. And then I think I have actually a few more slides here. I do. These are just like, a few of the clients I thought that I would share because they did amazing. This is Melody. She made this transformation in 6 months. And she was someone that struggled with health issues for about 10 years before she actually was able to create this change for herself. And so that also, this was actually, I think she has knee pain similar to what you were describing as well too, Karen. And she was able to work out and overcome that as well. Yeah, and then this is Brian. I know that this is for moms, but Brian is actually, he's a dad of 2 girls. And he lost 60 pounds in 10 months. And that was despite coming in with chronic knee, back, and shoulder pain. He's also like a manager of Domino's too. So he did that despite like working in fast food, right? Which I think is absolutely amazing. And then this is Dr. Scott Meehan that we work with. He is absolutely amazing. And with him, the thing that I loved was he would work like 24-hour shifts and still come in for his workout. Like that's how much he was able to really dig deep and be able to prioritize himself. And so like these pictures, they do show not necessarily like the physical transformation, but for him, it really was, like the mental, emotional thing. So like, he was able to find balance despite working 24-hour shifts in the ICU. He was able to, let go of like what he looked like when he went on vacation. Even if he had been working out and he's like, I don't have the 6-pack I want yet, he still was able to be comfortable in his own skin, and just like learning to feel whole and vibrant and happy and able to manage stress and recognize what his body needs. So I want to leave you all with that. And yeah, like I invite, each of you to just really dig deep into what has perpetuated like the cycle of just not taking care of yourself throughout life and what needs to change. And I'm going to stop my screen share And then I'm going to put my information. I will put my I will put my phone number in the chat box. And then if you would like to set a call up with me to figure out, what it is that you need on your health and fitness journey, just go ahead and shoot me a text message. Just put strong mom and then with your name. So it'd be like strong mom Karen or strong mom Aline. And I'd be happy to go deep with you.
Perfect. I'm gonna add this to the Facebook Live as well.
Okay, perfect.
I didn't get all of that. Brianna, I did not get the phone number.
Oh. Let's see. Are you able to see it, Elizabeth?
Yes.
Okay.
Karen, are you able to open the chat box?
Well, let's see. What do I do to open the chat box?
I think you go to the 3 dots at the bottom that says more.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, it'll pull up a little tab that says chat.
Oh, okay. I see it. Okay. 253-226-0781 and just put strong mom Karen.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And then I will shoot you back with times that we can
Oh, okay.
set up our call. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Awesome.
Okay. Sounds.
Yes. And that is everything. Is there any other questions?
No, Brianna, I live in Bonnie Lake, but I used to live in Tacoma, and you all are located on 6th Avenue in Tacoma.
Yes, that's correct. We're located right off of 6th and Mildred. So there's the LA Fitness on 6th and Pearl. It's like maybe a block or two up from there. We're in the same parking lot as the grocery outlet.
Oh, okay. 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 I know where that is.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for having me today.
Of course, anytime. We love having you and any one of the Beometry team. It's always a pleasure.
Awesome. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you,
Okay.
everyone, for being here. I know it's a sunny, beautiful day out, but what a great time to go on a walk after this now.
Yeah, I'm gonna head to the Y. I'm gonna head to the Y and get in the lazy river.
Oh, there you go.
That sounds
Yeah.
Well, thank you, everyone, and thanks for watching on Facebook Live. You have a good night.
Thank
Okay. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye.